Yeah.
My name is Geaninne Gutiérrez and I'm the curatorial assistant in the Department of Drawings here at the Museum of Modern Art, and I organized this exhibition, The Modern Myth, along with my colleague Luis Perez-Ramos, who's also a curator of Latin American art here at MoMA. And this show basically is, showcases works on paper from the collection. We have about over 60 works here on display, all of it from the collection of drawings in the museum. And basically it revolves around this theme called Modern Myth. And the exhibition follows a sequence of 3 chapters where we start first with classical representation of myths done, by early modernists such as Murilo Redon, Cézanne, Jack Lipschitz, André Derain, and it follows this sort of story about how modern artists are reinterpreting these myths. And so the second gallery focuses on how these artists are kind of looking back into themselves and creating their own personal imaginated or created stories from fantastical landscapes to imaginary landscapes to imaginary figures, and then also harking back to a primitive or primordial life or primordial, harking back to a primordial representation such as totemic figures or primitive figures. And here in that gallery we have, for example, works by Constantin Brancusi and Max Ernst. It also has a little bit of surrealism in there with works by Dali and I forgot this name. I'll check back so we can cut that.
This is an exhibition about the modern India, and it starts with the Goya representation of a nightmare, as if in contemporary art, starting from Goya, looks like the representation of these nightmares in our centuries, so last centuries. And what is the myth for the artist, or what can myth be represented, always be represented by artists in every time, influencing, stimulating, such as myth is something that can always be represented in art.
Well, it's a good question. When we were thinking about doing an exhibition focusing just purely on the drawings collection, there were a lot of different themes that we were thinking about, and really how we came up with this exhibition and how we came up with the Modern Myth really started by looking at what kind of works we have in the collection, and we had over 10,000 drawings in the collection, and it was quite a challenge to kind of pinpoint down what kind of works we want to show to kind of fall into this category. But really when Luis and I started thinking about, well, let's start working on the theme of mythologies. Why mythologies? And really, you're right, mythologies has been around us since, for thousands of years, going back, going really far back. And what we attempt to do here is kind of to show how these mythologies have been recurrent and how they've been retold in modern times. For example, we chose to start with the Francisco de Goya book, who it's one of the first editions that we have in the collection, but sort of falls out of the time of the modern timeline. It's from 1797, but we thought it was a great representation of what it is, going deep into your subconscious in a kind of like nightmarish world that Goya was sort of indicating, during his lifetime, and how, that story has been sort of transformed and reinterpreted by early modernists and also all the way through contemporary artists. And we didn't really just want to focus on classical representation of mythologies. We sort of wanted to spin it around and kind of focus more. We could start with some of the classical mythologies, but sort of focus it more on how these modern artists have been reinterpreting and transforming these same stories, through time. And so that's why we started, with the Rufero lamb Satan and with the pulsates on Mercury as a nice little contrapposto of major figures, not really falling into the same kind of timeline, because the Cesar work is from the early 1900s and the Mata is from the 1940s, but really sort of just start with this kind of representation that we can tell the story to the audience. I don't know if I...
Yes, but it seems that, for example, from Aristotle onwards, you repeat stories and stories and stories. Like repeating stories is a value.
Yeah, I mean, these stories are always part. It's part of our history, part of our humanity. It's an attempt for us to kind of explain, the world around us. From the origins of the world to the creation of the world to the creation of humanity, and looking deeper. Kind of just telling also. Our subconscious,
That's the surrealism.
Exactly.
Then starts
Exactly.
the surrealism.
Exactly.
They were one of the most important part of the artists.
Exactly.
Surrealisms used a lot of symbols and mythology.
Yes, and and in the second gallery we sort of incorporate these iconic surrealist artists like Dalí and Max Ernst and Enrico Donati. But really, it's really kind of just trying to harness what we can tell from this really broad topic. And for example, in the second gallery, we really. Do you want to go? Okay, sure.